What's up?
Wow. That was such a excited intro.
I'm very excited.
Why are you excited?
Caffeine mostly, actually.
Caffeine.
I had an energy drink earlier, and now I'm drinking a drink that has 30 milligrams of caffeine. We're getting a
And
little.
what drink would that be?
I'm not allowed to disclose it, but it's a podcaster's favorite. I'll leave it up to the viewers to guess.
Are you saying we've been secretly sponsored?
I wish, dog.
I wish we were too. Welcome, everyone, to Survivor Stock Watch Episode 10. Why did you not play the idol again? Like, are you joking? The idol's guaranteed safety, and the one time you don't hear your name at all is when you decide not to play it. Like, they are going to blindside you. If you hear only one name out, there's a high likelihood that your name is being written. I am Jack. With me as Will.
What's up? I've been good. I'm getting a promotion at work, actually. Fun fact.
Promotion.
I'm now going to be CEO of Outback Steakhouse. So step aside, Liz.
Wow.
You're going to have some competition. How'd you think about the episode?
It was fun. It was funny. You know, I had a good time reveling in the Applebee's ads. It was funny. I was watching it, and you know, right after they had the reward challenge and the blow up and all of that. We can't show a clip of that, obviously. But Jay,
what's up, Jay?
Good to see you. You know, after the Applebee's fiasco at the reward challenge, they so fittingly decided to put an Applebee's ad, like an actual one, right after for their margarita. And I was like, man, I don't know how much money they're making, but I've seen a lot of people in the community go, yeah, I'm going to Applebee's now because of this episode. And I'm like, they're making it work.
Well, it's crazy. It's not so often where my friends will see Survivor clips online. And when they do, they always send it to me. They're always like, hey, look at this, right? The night this episode aired, all of my non-Survivor friends kept sending me the Liz meltdown clip, and they were like, what's going on? Why is she pressed about Applebee's?
It's just, it's something about it. It's just, it's Applebee's.
I will say, though, there is when I was a kid, I always thought that they were just overhyping it, overblowing it. But, like, if I was on Survivor and Outback Steakhouse was a reward, that actually has a lot of personal connections to me. Not because I just work there. So, like, I kind of believe Liz. But I also...
Would you go to Outback Steakhouse every Wednesday night before Survivor?
I do go to Outback Steakhouse every night before Survivor.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah.
You already do it. Yeah, it was a good episode overall. I think we both predicted that the Liz NATO was going to be coming this episode. Yeah. We just didn't expect it to be about Applebee's. I did not expect it to be about the bourbon burger and just this absolute just epic about the inner workings of an American chain restaurant.
An American dynasty, dog.
An American dynasty that is Applebee's. Well, Liz will definitely be a sponsor of Applebee's and definitely be a business partner or a business owner. Maybe she'll become the CEO of Applebee's. She's the CEO of everything else in the world. So,
apparently.
Again, the rule book. This time we are adding a new permanent addition to the rule book. Erme Moore, as for the middle of the road rankings. He is staying because I think it's just so funny to include his face. And you will see his face again in a different light, though, later this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And now we move to My winner pick,
Yep.
Tiffany,
Yep.
who got 8th place.
My winner pick is still in the game, by the way. My preseason winner pick.
Who's your winner pick again?
Q.
Yes.
So we're catching dubs.
Yes. Yeah, Jay, I'm surprised that the family brothers weren't included. Maybe next round or maybe not at all. Who knows? But Tiffany started off really strong, continued to be strong, and then as the last episodes have kind of played out, as people like Kenzie and Charlie have become more and more of contenders, Tiffany has kind of slipped back into the wayside here. And while it necessarily wasn't surprising for me that Tiffany went home or wasn't the winner, I am surprised in the matter that it happened because, to be honest, it felt like this should have been the episode Q went home, especially with how he handled the reward, because that was a whole deal and a half. But I think a lot of people at the same time saw Tiffany as, hey, she's got this idol. She's already a big threat regardless. But again, play the idol. Or better yet, idols shouldn't exist. Should go back to season 2. You know what I mean? No twist.
All right, let's get the Facebook stuff out of here. Survivor just needs to go back to 39 days. No idols, just people in the wild. No,
it's true.
Yeah, no, it's weird because I feel like Tiffany does she belongs in the 8th place group. I feel like we talked about it last season and the season before, where it's kind of like a pretty strong player, pretty strong character, not necessarily like the winner, but always in like the upper echelon, like Kai, Noel, who got 8th place, Bruce, I think wasn't really good strategically, but a character, he was really solid.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Tiffany makes a lot of sense. I'm just glad I called it from the beginning that she wasn't really the winner, except for episode 6. I forgot what happened that episode, but like, I was never too high on Tiffany, so we win these.
Listen, I think she had a really good game to start, but I think after episode 2 and that personal content, it became readily apparent that she was just going to be a strong player that was going to be eliminated relatively late in the game. And unfortunately, it was the 3rd time this season. Is that a record? Is it 3 times?
Yeah, it's a record when the only other season was 45. Everything is a record here.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, most like 3 people, 3 notable players too. Not like 3 duds who just happened to find an idol. Like Jem was a good player, or good is debatable. Hunter, you could argue. Tiffany, you could argue. Like they were strong players and they were strong presences on the season. Just leave with the idol in their pocket. Like it's frustrating.
I thought you meant the 3rd time this season where our number 1s went home. With Jem.
No. I mean, Tiffany was our lowest remaining contender, I would say. Like she was hanging on by a thread. And at this rate, it was just like, it was only a matter of time. And here we are. Frank with a comment here. At this point, finding the idol is only beneficial if you're at risk of being voted out. Having a public idol should devalue one's stocks/position. Yeah, honestly, I mean, going back to Hunter, if Hunter just didn't tell anybody about his idol and just played it, it would have worked out fantastic for him, probably. If Tiffany had just not told anybody and just played it, it would have been great. But
I don't know.
It's the telling people that you have the idol that is always the debate with these seasons, because everybody loves to say everything to each other.
Yeah. The problem is, though, I don't really blame Tiffany, because I feel like the Yanu 3 should have been a cohesive unit, right? Telling Kenzie just made sense. I will defend Tiffany telling Kenzie about the idol, episode 1, episode 2. I think that makes a lot of sense. It helps build up trust, especially early on. Telling Q was questionable, but at the same time, Q early on had a much more level head than he does now. And I don't think either one of us could predict Q just going off the rails once the merge happened.
Yeah.
Like after Banu left, Q was just a different player, and Tiffany told Q about the idol beforehand. I can't really blame Tiffany. It's just one of those things where once it was public knowledge, you should have played it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, and it comes back to this, you know, the first thing I said, or the first real thing I said, all of this blah 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 text. Look, if you only hear one name and it is the most obvious name on the table, right? If you're Tiffany and you hear Q and it's only Q, there is a high chance that either you or your ally is getting thrown under the bus. How Tiffany did not really see that and get that, I think was very short-sighted of her game, when all in all, I thought she's been pretty strong strategically, especially after bluffing last tribal council.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those things, too, where I feel like you have to know the backup plan or like the secondary plan. You know, you got to know the pieces on the chessboard, because if you stop and think like, hey, what is everyone else doing? What is Q doing? You know, as obvious as Q getting voted out was, the fact that it was so obvious this late in the game, I think is more telling, right? It's kind of like last season where I felt like Bruce was such an obvious target, such a big threat, where I feel like it made less sense to vote him out at a certain point. And I was wrong about that. However, I feel the same way with Q now, and I think there's a little bit more credence to that. And we'll get to Q later as to why I don't have him dead last.
I don't have him dead last either. Spoiler alert.
Oh.
I think we'll see Tiffany on Survivor 50. So we're actually doing a little returnee what if live stream. Survivor Now is on Sunday. I might be on it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be available. Will you be on that?
Yeah, I got to talk to Randy and say like, hey, I can do it. But yeah, no, I should be good. I'm gonna talk to my work and make sure I'm off by then.
Yeah, we definitely have some thoughts. But I think regardless of that, if you're just trying to stick on Stock Watch, we thank you for your patronage. Next week's episode will go as we usually do towards the ends of seasons. We'll start to go in depth into how we thought about the season, what we liked, what we disliked, and who we think could actually return. Now that it's a certainty and not a rare, distant plea to have a returnee season, now we can actually really start speculating. But we will leave that for Sunday and next week.
Yeah.
And so we move to Ben.
What's up?
Who you still have at 3, which is fair. Do you still have him as a contender at 3?
I don't think so anymore. I got to be real. I feel like I said before that if he was the winner, this was the edit we'd see, but I don't think this episode was a good episode for Ben, even in his Ben-centric edit. I do think, you know, if he does win, maybe he beats like Q and gets like sympathy from like Liz. I don't want to write him off just yet, but even if I didn't have him as a contender, I do agree that he could be a losing finalist. So number 3 does just kind of make sense. I disagree with Liz being a losing finalist, but that's just me. There's someone else I see instead, and we'll get to her later.
Sure, yeah. I think for me it comes down to really making your own strides and kind of championing the move. I think it's a tough debate because this is the big debate I've been thinking about is when to make the big move, and should you do it on your number 1 or should you do it on somebody else? Regardless of that, Ben has been relatively cooperative with his old Sega tribe and is not really making his own strides in the gameplay. Like, we see him as a nice guy. We see him being somewhat social. You know, we see him in decisions, but he's not driving the boat right now. I think the person that's going to lead themselves well in this scenario is Charlie, who we'll get to next, because he's seen as a clear clear number one with the person who drove this episode, Maria. However, Ben isn't really seen to be driving any of this at all. And in fact, he contradicted himself this episode when he said, he said, I support Liz. Q is the villain. I do not like that guy, hence the Wreck-It Ralph meme and the image there. And then decided to vote out Tiffany. Like,
I didn't realize that until just now.
Not good signs. Not good signs.
But if we're running with the narrative that he was supporting Liz, who did Liz vote out as well? You know, the fact that he did contradict himself, his comment on Q was more personal, which I think if Q was voted out, that would lend a lot of credence towards Ben's edit, right? Of him being more personally driven, emotionally driven, with an emotionally charged jury. But I don't know. I could still see it, because I think back to Fabio, he contradicted himself a whole bunch. I think back to like Gabler, his edit just made no sense. His win was out of nowhere. We have seen things happen out of nowhere. And so I feel like if there was a what the heck kind of winner, it would be Ben. But I feel a lot stronger with who I have at number one, who we'll get to later.
Yeah, I think one comment from Ben here. Surprised Ben decided not to include Kenzie in the vote. Yeah, I think Kenzie would have told Tiffany. I think that's, Kenzie would have told Tiffany to play the idol because it wasn't right for Kenzie's game at that time. And we're going to get to this point where, Kenzie decided, I'm not going to take a shot at my number one. Like, I'm not going to vote out my number one. And we'll get to that later. But I think it may be a point of contention, considering we did see Ben and Kenzie have a great bonding moment. 2 episodes ago, maybe 3 episodes ago. It could absolutely be a point of contention moving forward, and maybe a case as to them either falling out or them riding it out together. But we go to Charlie with the grip maxers over there. The line between Kenzie and Charlie is getting closer and closer and closer. There wasn't it's tough. I'm still shifty, okay? As Will would put it, Will Weary West. I'm still weary of both of them. And it is one of them for me, right? Like, it is Charlie or Kenzie. But the line between which one is number one and number two, I had Charlie as number one until yesterday morning. Like, after the episode and going into sleep, I thought, yep, Charlie's winning. And then I said, you know what? I think Kenzie's actually going to win in the morning. It's tough.
It is. It's one of those things where I feel like Charlie's edit compared to Kenzie, I feel like there's less there. But I think that's also situational, right? Charlie only went to one tribal pre-merge where he was kind of the driving force of the vote, right? Versus Kenzie, we saw her constantly, but that's also because Yanu was just a train wreck, right? When you're on the train wreck tribe, you're just going to get more screen time, right? Yeah. I think Charlie equally also embodies the spirit of Siga, which I think is kind of important, right? Because I feel like Siga was very tribe focused in a way where it's like they embodied the personality, right? Unlike Nami and Yanu. And I feel like that was important in a way because I feel like Jem didn't really do that, or Tim, or Mariah did. It's kind of hard to explain, but I feel like Charlie is like a Siga, right? More so than Ben at this point. And I feel, but the problem with Charlie though is that, again, it just feels too good. It feels too perfect for me. That's why I don't have him number one. And the line hasn't really been getting closer. In fact, I've been a little bit more confident with Kenzie as the season's been going on. Absolutely.
Okay.
But
here's my thing, though. Here's my thing. I'd like to interject here. I'm putting the fist down, putting the
gavel down.
A lint roller, by the way. Striking the hammer. Objection.
Portion order.
I think that a case for Charlie this episode is that he was actually not the main strategic driver. He said all he needed to do this episode was win immunity or make sure that Tiffany and Q lost immunity. And that's exactly what he did. I think if next episode or if in the future Maria were to be targeted for making such a big move with this, I think it would be a great episode for Charlie. I think that if it's where Maria takes the spotlight here and Charlie's just thrown to the wayside, I could see the line getting a lot bigger between Kenzie and Charlie. But if Maria starts getting targeted and Charlie weighs in more about it, I do think there's a really strong case, and the line's going to get even thinner.
And we'll get to Maria because I got a spicy take that I put in the group chat.
Would you say it's a?
I would say it's a crackpot. Play the clip.
Oh, all right. Well, no. We'll wait.
Okay.
We'll wait. We'll build it up here. But let's relax here
Kenzie.
with the still number one. We're finally to her with Kenzie, who is both our number ones. Me 4 in a row, Will 3 in a row. Again, very iffy. Kind of dogging Q when he didn't go home. All that kind of stuff. In a way, though, I think she was shielded from Tiffany going home. She wasn't made to look like a complete fool, except for the very shocked reaction when she was eliminated. I agree, Jay. She was definitely a little bit protected. And I think the way she was protected was that we've seen a history of when people get out the people that they trust, they go home next. We saw it with Tevin getting out Soda, Tevin going. Hunter didn't really get out Tevin, but Hunter was next with him. TLDR, getting out the person you trust isn't really the best play. And I think Kenzie noticed that, or maybe didn't, but Kenzie really has decided, I can't get rid of her now. It's not right for my game. And I think that may help her down the line because now that she has a lot less power, per se, with Tiffany gone, maybe she slithers in through, and maybe this is the start of her domination to winning the game.
I mean, I feel like just because your ally goes home doesn't necessarily mean that you are losing, right? Because I think, especially with this kind of jury, I think there's been a lot of talk, a lot of speculation with just the social media from the cast of 46 that we're going to get a bitter jury, right? I think that by Kenzie not voting out Tiffany and voting for Q is already a wild card to begin with. Trying to vote for Q is honestly very safe unless you want to get on a reward trip to Applebee's. Shout out to Liz. And so I feel like it's actually a big plus to her story because instead of playing a perfect game, Kenzie's story can be one of, I struggled throughout the game. I struggled on Yanu, made lemons out of it. Merge, I laid low. My closest ally got voted out from my other ally, and I had to dominate and be savage and whatnot in the end game, right? I think that could be Kenzie's story, and the fact that she is getting kind of shielded because it's hard to like not show your ally getting voted out. It's like it's hard to just wipe Kenzie. It's just what happens next episode is going to matter. It's kind of like when Jem went and Mariah just wanted to ride the Sega boat again after being blindsided. As soon as that happened, Mariah was just done, right? Yeah,
you either rise to the occasion or you fall at the face of adversity. And we always tend to say on Survivor Stock Watch, one of our TM things here, we should make all right. Should we make a graphic for it and just be like, we gotta wait till next episode to find out?
We should. That's our next graphic. That's our promise for this episode.
That's our promise. We'll make a graphic. We'll make a graphic for it. But we do say watch till next episode, but I think there cannot be a more fitting circumstance this season than next episode for Kenzie because it's going to be quite telling how she plays it. If she plays it like going back to what she did before or doing something in the vein of Mariah or something that she's not going to be well respected for, she will be voted out. There's no question. If she can rise above it, find the right way to survive, maybe it's through winning immunity, maybe it's through finding the idol. We do see an idol search in the next time on Survivor. she may pull it out, and this may be the start of that real kind of maybe underdog story in a way, akin to Fabio from Survivor Nicaragua. A little bit.
I was gonna say Natalie Anderson if we want to talk about endgame domination, because I feel like calling Kenzie Fabio is too. I love Fabio; it's one of my favorite winners.
It's a little bit of a discredit to Kenzie.
Yeah, because I feel like Kenzie's playing a more active game than Fabio was. Not saying that Kenzie's playing a bad game or Fabio played a good game, but Kenzie's just more active in the game. I would say if like Ben gets targeted and survives, then he'd be like Fabio.
Absolutely.
There is still fear though that she could be either the dragon or I harken back to the original Jeff Probst monologue in the beginning of the season saying one of you will just not win no matter if you did everything right.
Tale as old as time.
But the fact that we were shown that this season, it could just be a Jeff ramble. But, in lieu of lack of Matt chat, I feel like the premiere opening sequence is still important to look at. And I think it more times than not overshadows the rest of the season. And there's also Banu's Mermaid Dragon, as Jay is saying. And yes, so I feel like I'm still on that train, but not as much, Yeah,
I mean, I think we'll see if that holds weight, because I think they really tried to phase out a majority of the premiere opening sequence, kind of, like, little editing tips, little tip-offs. They did a little bit with D last season, but not much. That was more kind of forced into play later in the season, especially with the auction. That was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think if it depends. It depends. That's Survivor Stock Watch. We wait till next episode. All right, Will.
All right.
You know what time it is. 1 through 4.
5. Let's do 3. I'm feeling a strong 3 today.
You said 5?
No.
I think you did. That was number 5. No, we'll really do number 3, and that is bracketology.
My name is Jonah Fielko, and I'm the CEO of bracketology.tv, fantasy sports for reality television. We offer fantasy games for shows like The Bachelor, Survivor, Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, and counting. You start by creating a community. Within your community, you can create a fantasy league for each show that you want to play fantasy games for. Within the league, you can choose up to 3 of our 4 game types, and our most popular is the Advanced League. Choose a team of contestants, and depending on what they do and say during the episode, that's how your team will gain or lose points each week. We also have elimination-style games like our Confidence Pool. This is where you choose how confident you are that each contestant will survive elimination that week. And we've also got March Madness-style brackets. Come back a couple hours after the episode to check your scores and watch you climb the leaderboard. Bracketology is free to play, so grab your friends, your family, your coworkers, and head to bracketology.tv for more info.
All right.
Yo.
Let's get into it. Welcome to Applebee's. Can I take your order? Or do you need a few minutes to reflect on the mistakes you've made in life that led you here? And my key takeaway for this episode for Liz is that Applebee's just made a shit ton of money.
Yep.
Absolute slam dunk. I've seen people on Reddit, on Instagram saying that they're going to Applebee's. They're going to become I guarantee the amount of applications that are going to flow through Survivor. Half of them are going to mention Applebee's at some point, or someone's going to be eating a bourbon burger and doing Applebee's. But you have her at 6.
I do. Because
so you think she would get eliminated soon?
Yeah. I don't have her at number 7. I don't have her dead last because there's someone else I think is going to get voted out next episode, if not the episode right after. And so I kind of see Liz more so being like the final 6, final 5 boot, right? And so here's the thing though. I don't think that she's a losing finalist. I can get why. However, I feel like now she's actually playing the game. If she remained complacent that the entire game, I would agree. But the fact that she's now playing the game, her whole meltdown, I don't think would garner respect. And I think Ben and someone else are more likely to be losing finalists. And I think the third spot is going to be like Charlie or Kenzie, you know. And so
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they're I think coming back from that meltdown to actually get rid of Tiffany and not Q, having the having the growth mindset and the ability to mature and analyze the maybe more strategic decision. I think it absolutely could spell doom for her going forward, because people would look at that and go, wow, she did not vote out Q, who she just hated. Like, she hates his guts, and she voted out Tiff. And that in and of itself is a big play. And yeah, I feel like Liz would have gotten more of a story, a little bit more personal content if she was a losing finalist. She's not.
Nope.
She could be, certainly. That's why I have her at 3, because I think if we're operating in the scenario where she continues to maybe either melt down or she really just gets complacent with this new voting block that's been formed, then potentially she could be a losing finalist.
Yeah.
But I think what could be more likely is her getting targeted because of her maturity to make the move on Tiff.
Yeah. Which is why you have her at number 3.
I have her at number 3. I think I could be swayed to move her down. I think placement potential is highest with Liz. I think a 3rd is in the cards. She could lose fire. She could be 5th, something like that. Whereas I see someone like Ben, who I have at 4, he could either be a losing finalist or he could be out at 6, or could be out next.
Yeah, and I can see that, but I feel like I still think Ben could win. That's why I have Ben high. No, but again, she doesn't have a lot of personal content. We got a little bit with this episode. I do think some of it is real. Again, my family loves Outback Steakhouse. So if I went on Survivor and Outback Steakhouse was a reward challenge, I would absolutely share. You know, my family went to Outback for years, and the personal story with it. So I don't think it's fake. I don't think she's like a industry plant or was trying to ham it up for the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a little sick how she enjoys Applebee's. It is honestly one of the worst restaurants you can go to.
It's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad. Dollar margaritas.
Frank disagrees, though. He thinks we should make Applebee's number 1 over Kenzie.
True. I don't know. Dollar margaritas are the only thing they have going for it, but at the same time, Outback Steakhouse, you know, you can get a drink for $7 and get a rubber ducky. And pretty soon you can get the same drink, but instead get a crocodile. So
that's a lot better than Applebee's, is what I'm hearing.
A lot better. But no, I still think Liz, despite getting more screen time than she was, say, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, I think it's the same story. It's the same kind of whatever, where even though she's trying to play the game more, she's still pretty passive, right? She's still letting other people dictate her decisions. I know she had a hand to play with the Tevin vote, but I also think that was kind of Liz at her peak. And I think now she's starting to wane.
You think this is the peak, and you think now this is the come down?
Yep.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Wow.
I got her low. I got her real low.
You think she's gone? All right. Well, hold on. Let's start with this. Yes, she is finally not Erme Moore anymore. But as I think Will is trying to latch onto this idea here. Potentially game defining / game losing move. target right after. She was the one who really got it done and got Tiffany out of the game. Could have backfired. You think so? Why?
I fully think so. I think Maria's edit so far has just been getting undermined by Charlie. And while he didn't contradict Maria at all this episode, it was the way he approached this episode was vastly different, and I think worked out better for Charlie. So Charlie came into this episode saying, I just need to win the challenge, make sure Tiffany and Q do not win. That makes life easier on me. And he's laying low. Maria, she's trying to play the game. I hearken this back to episode 3 on Stiga with the whole idol find, right? And so I think ever since then, we kind of agreed that Ben was in a better spot than Maria, right? Or it was episode 4, whatever. That Ben was kind of, or not Ben, Charlie was the leader in the Denise-Malcolm relationship, right? And I think this episode 2, I think Maria overplayed. I think that she's now going to be seen as a big threat. I think Kenzie touched upon, not wanting to rustle any feathers, laying low. And I feel like Kenzie's the winner, right? So what does that mean?
Hold on. We forgot to
do something. Crackpot 3. Play the thing.
There we go. We're back. All right, continue.
And so, hi. What was I saying? Yeah, no. So
I get it. I think we actually talked about this maybe last episode or maybe 2 episodes ago, is when you start making big moves, because it used to be you try to make them at the final 8, at the final 9, maybe at the final 7 as well, and then you just kind of survive your way to the end. I think the new era has really shifted that mentality to where you come out as a front runner early on, you lay low early to mid merge, and then you come up late merge, talking final 6, final 5. And even then it's a risky thing. I think Maria made a great move, but I think it's a little too early. I think final 8 even is too early now to make this like real move and take out a real target and like actually be the one doing it. And I think there is definitely validity to her potentially going home next episode. Well, it's not Survivor the Gathering, it's Survivor 46 Stocks. That's right, Sans.
It's less too that it was too early. It's also just the dynamics of the tribe right now. I feel like at this point, there's now only 3 big targets left.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when you are in the minority of that, right, you need to vote out the, not goats, but you got to vote out the lower profile people, right?
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that I would really consider goats at this point.
Yeah.
Or rather, sorry, the opposite around. There's a decent amount of people I would consider goats at this point. You're talking Venus. You're talking Ben could be argued as a goat. Liz.
Yeah. I feel like Venus is the only goat, like traditional goat, because I think Ben has a slight chance with a very personal jury, right? Liz at least has a narrative of starving on an island, right? And blowing up at Q, which is kind of funny. I think Venus is the only person whose story has been outright negative, right? But yeah, no. But because of that, I don't think it made sense to vote out Tiffany right now, despite having an idol, despite the Yanu 3 being an opposing threat. I think voting out Q was the move to make, honestly. Because it opens up the game in a way, and it still allows, like the Sega 3, honestly, to come in contact. You bring in Kenzie, and you vote out like Venus or Liz, right?
Yeah.
And then lower numbers, then you can target Kenzie, right? It's risky, but when you're down to like the final 6, final 7, final 5, you gotta make those risks, You
do, yeah. Especially now, like you have to consider time when you're doing this. I was thinking about it. I think the last season, these players saw, depending on when they went out to go shoot the show, it could have been 43. It could have been 44, but
I think it was 44.
You think it was 44? Okay.
But I
But
think the cast saw the first few episodes of 44.
okay.
The cast of 45 saw the first few episodes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even then, like, you have to keep the most recent season of Survivor you've seen in mind. Yeah, 46 saw all of 44. So there has to be some kind of influence to that. And I think there's a little bit, people look at the most recent season and go, okay, how can I emulate a little bit of that? And so I think we're seeing that, especially, it's not as much 44, it's more rather 43. And I think most people are really trying to take it low and slow, exactly like Gabler did. And in a way, Jesse, hoping that they can make fire at the end or win immunity at the end.
Yep.
Taking it low and slow and hoping it'll all work out. And the last thing here, they put the Denise Malcolm thing in earlier in the season because Charlie outlasts Maria. Yeah, I think the thing with that was if we were shown it one more time after that initial instance, it would be important. And it was. Like, it was brought up again in the gem elimination episode. So it was very clearly important. And I think regardless of Charlie outlasting Maria, which I think is plausible, surely, I think that, I think it's just more to show the people that have really been running this season, which are Charlie and Maria. Like, they have run this season.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And now we go to Q.
That's why he's the GOAT.
That's why he's the GOAT. At this rate, I think he's actually staying at next round. And now, obviously, because I've said that he's staying, he's obviously going home next episode. So, double-edged sword there. But we'll dig a little into returning talk here, but Q's got to come back, right? Like, there's no way he doesn't.
Yeah. I think it's hard to say. I think 46, I don't know how it's going to be in a year from now, right? But I do see Q kind of filling in that coach role, I think Q embodies a lot of what we appreciated in Coach in Tocantins in South Pacific and Heroes versus Villains. And so I think of all the people in 46, outside of whoever the winner is, I think Q is likely to return. Now, I have a question.
Scott,
do you think there is a world where Q is the winner?
In the world where a meteor strikes in about 4 weeks, yeah, I think so. I think that it is the most far-fetched winning scenario probably ever. I think that it would be insane considering that for the past 4 episodes, he's been over the top negative. I almost gave him double negative this episode. I'm not even lying.
If we saw the full clip of the reward challenge where Tiffany and Kenzie tried giving up their reward to Liz and him saying no,
but absolutely, them hiding that, like, again, that has been a theme this season. What do they hide versus what do they show? And
why are they
doing that? If you hide, well, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to hide that or show that. I think it'd be. Everyone, Q's a villain. Everybody knows Q's a villain at this point. But I think it'd be interesting to see that perspective.
Because I go on the Reddits. I'm still relatively new to the Edgic scene.
You dabble.
So I dabble, and people aren't high on Q. But if he is the winner, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
It would be pretty funny.
And
it would be pretty funny.
People point to like bitterness on social media. By the way, the cast of 46, they hate each other.
They hate each other's
ugly.
It's great to see. I think it's fantastic. I think
it's hilarious. Don't send hate to people. Let the players
let them hate each other. Don't send hate to people. Don't get in there.
But I'm putting on the glasses too. So it's, to me, it's just, if Q's the winner, could this be the edit? Someone so far-fetched, someone so negative, but it just might work, It
just. All right, let's play the game here a little bit. All right, here we go. So here on Survivor Stockwatch, we like to get cool, we like to get chill, we like to get relaxed, and we really weigh if Q could actually win the season here. Obviously, we're kidding, But are we? Because it would be unique. This would be testing the boundaries of new era Edgic to the nth degree. Like, this would be testing the boundaries so far that it's insane. Because Gabler tested the boundaries. Erica tested the boundaries. This is putting it on a new stratosphere. Because it's insane.
Additional question. What if the final three is Q, Liz, and either Venus or Ben?
It's the worst final three of all time.
Or like one of just any three of those four, including Q. Like Q, Venus, Ben, Q, Liz, Ben, Q, Venus, Liz.
Listen.
I think Q wins it. You know?
I think in that scenario he does, and episode title and all.
Wackadoodle win.
Listen, it is so far-fetched. If it does happen, it'll be great to watch, I'm sure. But I just don't see a feasible way in which this is gonna play out like that. I think one of Kenzie and Charlie will make the end. One of them will.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think Q loses in both of those scenarios.
I can concur. It's still just, what if?
It's fun to would you say,
make a crackpot?
And so now we're on Venus. For the first time in a while, we use the ghost image. It's back. It's Wackadoodle Win versus Crackpot Theory. Amen to that, Amy. Amen to that.
Amen, dog.
Amen to that, Amy. Yes, Venus is the ghost. Under the radar won this episode. I think if she had a confessional, it was barely anything. So the ghost was fitting. And I think she is gone next. That is my bold take. I think that because of the fallout of this vote, I think the block is going to stay together. Kenzie will avoid being the target. Venus will go home because not only was she on the bottom of the vote, but she's on the bottom, period.
So I can see that. I can absolutely see Venus being on the bottom. However, I do think Venus had personal content sprinkled throughout the season. And for that reason, I honestly see her as the losing finalist instead of Liz. If Venus does go next, then Liz will be my losing finalist next to Ben. I will lock that in. If Venus goes next too, I will also move Charlie up. Because I would see a world where the voting block stays together. And while they might eat each other a little bit, I think Charlie will end up on top. I do think, though, that it's a common thing this season where the voting block kind of falls apart after a vote or two. I think of the cross-tribe group that happened just to vote out, Mariah? And then immediately disbanded. When it comes to a big play like this, where you're voting out Tiffany, I don't think it sticks together very long, because once you make that big move, then the in-game stocks do shift, right? To where now Maria's a big player, a bigger name now. And so I think people will target her. And that's also the reason why I have her number 7. I think Venus is just way too delusional, but not even the most delusional player of the season. I just think she doesn't have a lot of stock in the game, but I also think she's kind of like how Jake was last season, or Romeo or Owen, where she's trying to play the game, but no one takes her seriously and she just gets dragged.
I can see. I definitely think that is a plausible scenario. I think that if I were not going this angle where I think she would go home next, I would put her at losing finalist as well. I think it'd be pretty clear. But in this, I'm thinking of a specific scenario for next episode where Kenzie emerges like a phoenix, is the clear number 1 far and away. Venus goes home. Q is on the outs again. Liz and Ben are goats. I think that is the scenario I'm imagining. I think we're maybe imagining different scenarios, but hey, that's the fun of Survivor Stockwatch, baby.
That is the fun. I'm so glad that despite now the final two being kind of the same, we're able to have proper discourse. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I know, like 44, it was just all about Carolyn v Jam Jam, and last season it was just me saying Bruce was the losing finalist, or how Jake could win it. It's fun.
We got some cool stuff. Unfortunately, I forgot to do the thingies
Good
on
job.
here. I'm a lazy son of a bitch, but we're gonna do them anyway. Like it's not even that interesting. I have both Kenzie and Charlie at stays, and everyone else is slashes.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, there's really nothing else for that. I think at this rate, Kenzie and Charlie need to have catastrophic good or bad episodes to move them up from their positions. But I still think the line's thin. And I think if Kenzie got, per se, a really bad episode and Charlie even got a good episode, I think Charlie goes to number one. If Kenzie gets a good episode, Charlie gets a bad episode, the line becomes thicker between the two. But it's pretty sable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Again, I mean, I might move Charlie depending upon who goes next. If it's Venus, then I'll move Charlie up. Yeah, no big shifts. Maria does drop because I have her at number 7. That's kind of it. Ben and Liz were also tied, but Ben was just placed ahead because alphabetical. That's about it.
Absolutely. And now, what the hell? Okay. Anywho,
I forgot to hide the second one. I made both, and I was texting you. I'm like, "Which one do you want?" And you're like, "Oh, we have to stick to the rule book." LOL. And I'm like, "That does not answer my question, dog."
I didn't know that's what you said. Anyways,
It's all good.
the Edgic, we have that one right. Liz with a 5. First big episode for Liz here, not in the way she maybe really desired. Applebee's is going to get a lot of money now, and I'm sure her and Applebee's will be great business partners in the future.
Yep.
Venus with a 1. Maria, I guess, with the CP. Everyone else was middle of the road and under the radar, and Liz and Q. So I guess CP is the best. Key takeaways here. Q's streak is hilarious, and that's it. I mean, it went from 5 good, positive, 1 mixed in there, but to 5 straight negatives, 4 straight over the top negatives. Just beautiful. That's exactly what you want to see.
Yep.
Kenji's, let's get to this real quick. We'll hop over the Maria one real quick. Kenzie is starting to look a little more like Gabler / Jam Jam's hybrid on paper. Well, Kenzie's got a few more CPs than Gabler did hanging in the mid-merge. I definitely see some Gabler-esque lining there, especially in the back half. Lots more middle of the roads, a little bit more subdued, still being a part of the season, still narrating, but not the prevalence of the episode. And then Maria breaking her middle of the road course, I should say. It's either going to be perfect and the just exact thing she needs, or it's coming up at the wrong time and she's going home.
Yep. I think it's coming up at the wrong time, but what do I know?
What do we know? Especially since we're not even on Survivor to right the wrongs of people who went home with the idols in their pockets. But
I mean, I think I'm gonna be on Survivor soon. I have Jeff Probst on speed dial. He knows me. He knows Saving Bruce.
Speed dial. Fair enough.
He knows. He does not rock. Well,
he does not rock. Will.
Jack, don't say it.
This has been the Stocks.
Okay, calm down.
Do you have anything else to say?
We become a sitcom more and more as
every day.
With our silly running gags, catchphrases, a live studio audience. Thank you, Jay. Always fun to see you. You too, Amy. You too, Frank.
And Zens.
Shout out to Chris as well. I know he's not here right now, but
the squad.
The Stockwatch squad. Honestly,
We do need buzzers. Thank you for watching our beautiful little sitcom, everyone. It's been a great episode. Episode 10. I'm not going to read all that shit again. We will see you next episode for the third to last episode of Survivor 46, the most vicious season ever.